Hey everybody, this is Herschel Froome from High School Top 200, and this St. Pat's Town review is brought to you by Fineline Barbers. Fineline Barbers has joined up and gone together with one of the major barbering suppliers here in New Zealand, and they are putting together the Aotearoa Barbering Competition. This Aotearoa Barber Competition is going to be in September 2017, and is for all barbers around the country. Whether you have a certificate or not, you can still apply and get in. This is going to be the first of the event that's coming through. Also, this Aotearoa Barber Competition is going to be for all barbers. They're going to be setting up a Facebook page and also an Instagram page so that barbers can upload their work and we as a public can see it, and we can also get cut up by these guys when they come to the Aotearoa Barber Competition in September. This is going to bring the industry closer. It's going to bring everyone together. It's going to show the talent that we have in New Zealand from a barbering standpoint and the skills that we have, and so it's going to be something real cool to look out for. Aotearoa Barber Competition 2017 September. St. Pat's Town is actually one of my favorite schools to watch. I'm not too sure why. I'm not too sure what it is about the team, but I just like watching the team. I'm always interested when they come on and what their scores are, and how they did against other teams and stuff. But from just looking at them as a whole, St. Pat's Town was one of the most talented teams that for some reason just couldn't get it right. And I honestly thought that they were going to be one of the best in the country. And just from a standpoint of, and that's all you can really do when you start evaluating teams and reviewing teams, is that all you can do is look at the picture, look at the team roster, look at who they have and what the kids have accomplished, and then come up within your mind and come up with a reason why that team should be there in that position, or a reason why that team should be ranked in that position. Because obviously before the season starts, that's all you can really do. And so when I looked at this team from a standpoint of, look at all these players that they have in all these positions, in my mind, and from what I started them at number 12 in the country, and I actually think they should have been a bit higher. But for some reason, things just didn't kick over with that team, and obviously injuries comes into it. Injuries is always a big one. And they started off well. They started off the way that I thought they should have started off in terms of their first two games, because they played St. Bede's and Gisborne Boys in their first couple of games, and they won both of them. And then they had their TV game against Hastings Boys, which Hastings just blew them out. And even just from watching that and watching them, I was thinking, yeah, that's okay, because even good teams get blown out. I mean, even to this day, I'm still hurting that the All Blacks lost. Better teams get beat. That's just the way sports goes. And so even with that game, I was thinking, okay, yeah, you can drop one of those games like that. That's okay. That doesn't mean that your team is struggling or anything like that. Then they went on to play Palmy, and then they lost against Palmy, which I don't think they should have. I don't think they should have lost against Palmy. Then they had somewhat of a rest against St. John's and Hastings, where they dropped 50 points on them, and then they lost again against Wellington, which again I don't think that they should have lost. And then the game against Palmy, it was 23-27, and then the game against Cole was 16-20, and so even that's, you're just missing out on where you're supposed to be, and you're just missing out on that result that you need. I mean, I didn't think that that was their team where they should be losing to those two teams. And because like Xavier is coming back, like Sefo when he come back, you knew that they were going to be strong. Then they had Ethan and Meinrad, who I think that should have been the front row of Xavier, Meinrad, and also Ethan, because that's a big front row and they're really solid. They're actually pretty mobile for what you want as a front row, and like especially Xavier because of how fast he is. He's like a blindside out there. At least he still offers that speed and mobility around the field. Even if Ethan and Meinrad were supposed to just play tight, it can still be done, and that to me is the better front row that you should have. And so when you look at their scores and the roster that they have, I mean they have Keelan Whitman, who's coming up, and he's one of the talents that I'm going to be watching hard out for, because he's just got it for some reason. There's just something about this kid that you just really like, and no matter where you put him, whether he's in lock or in blindside or number 8, which I think he's going to end up being maybe a number 8 blindside, like this kid is going to be good. Tim Horan, who I thought he was somewhat of a blessing to this team, because he was just all out and he just went 100 every single time and played that tough boy role kind of thing. Like these guys, even with Kevin and Xavier, English, and like guys like that, I thought that these guys should have done a lot better, and could have and should have different things, but I think that they should have. They had injuries throughout the year, which took a lot of guys out. I mean, Billy was injured for a while, and El Nino actually stepped up, and him and Connor were there. Sosaya didn't have a great season by what standards I thought that he was going to be at, and I still think that he's still a massive talent. But when you start switching and changing guys a lot, sometimes it just doesn't work out. Even in your mind, when you think, okay, yeah, it should happen, sometimes just moving one guy from one wing to the other wing still takes away a dynamic in the terms of the way that you played. And so, like, that's the kind of thing that these guys had to deal with. And then Luke Georgeson, who I think doesn't get a lot of credit, but maybe he should get a lot more credit, because he's the guy that actually, I think, maybe kept this team competitive and kept them together and kept them driving forward. Along with Grayson, I think that they were a combination that probably weren't too looked upon a lot, and they got cut out of a lot of, I think, of opportunity as well. But this team actually, it was just hard. Like, something just didn't click with this team. And it's funny because, like, they ended the season still ranked in the top 25, and they just didn't click the whole year. And so, like, I always think, like, if this team actually clicked, where they would actually be in terms of the top 4, and maybe they could have made that really big push against Hastings boys to say that they deserve to be in the top 4, because I actually think that they have that caliber kind of team with this team that they had this year. Things just didn't work out, and you just can't explain that kind of stuff. But this is a team that I even think for next year, they have a pretty good amount of players that are going to be returning, and also that are going to be coming up from the second 15 and under 15, who I've heard that have got some real good talent coming through. So these guys are going to be all right, and they're still going to be the same kind of threat that they pose every single year. Actually, Billy can actually come back as well, Billy Proctor, but I don't think he is, but he actually can, because he's still under that age. But have a look out for these guys next year. I don't know what was wrong with them this year. I don't really know. I mean, like, they put up 101 points on St. Bernard's. That's huge. And, like, St. Bernard's is not, like, a useless team. I mean, they're not one of the best, but even putting up 100 points against anybody is a massive, like, that's a massive score. Not anyone can do 100 points. So, like, you know that these guys had the talent. You know that they had all the weapons. It just didn't fit right. This is the review for St. Pat's Town. Have a look out for their review, 2017 preview coming up, and that's my review for this. Peace.